Do you have any like that of your dad?
No, I don't have nothing of him like that. Actually, I just have just those talks about neighborhood stuff. We had a very bad altercation that happened when I was in my teens, and it was my fault. He had bought this camper, and when he used to get all doped up, he used to like to clean his camper, and he used to shine it, detail it, do all kinds of stuff to it. And I remember me and my little cousin, we used to, when the bus would pass down our block, because we lived off of Fort Boulevard, right? It was kind of like a main street, because everybody coming out the 710 would exit off my block and come down my block. So we always like to, be out there throwing gang signs or doing stupid shit. So we throw these dirt rocks, and one day, we noticed that he cleaned his thing, and we were trying to make it into the window with the dirt rocks, and he had got home from doing whatever he was doing, and he noticed all his floor inside was all full of dirt, and I remember he came and he grabbed me by my ears, and he said, don't you ever do that, or he said something to me, and I took flight on him. And I was on top of him, and my aunts came and they grabbed me, and I was so mad because I'm like, he's my dad, but he wasn't my father, and I felt so disrespected, but not even realizing that I disrespected him. I should have never did that, but I was so mad. I had so much anger, and a lot of stuff, a lot of us kids, we have these trauma bonds, or like trauma things that we go through, we hold on to it. We don't talk about nothing until it finally blows up. And then by that time, that's how we catch our cases, or we do mischievous things that we shouldn't be doing, or just making stubborn choices, and it's those little things that we don't talk about that blow up one day, and I had a lot of anger in my heart towards him, and till it finally blew up. And my aunts, I remember them yelling at him, and I was like, yeah, that's right, tell him, like he's never been there for me, and all this and that, and they were on him, and he was cussing them out. And, years later, I apologized to him, and I told him, hey, I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just probably bad, but I never got to tell him exactly what it was, even though, maybe he knew what it was. He never got to talk to me about it, maybe him not being there, or him being in prison, or maybe he shouldn't have been talking to me about stuff. But the stuff that he did talk about me, maybe other people, grown-ups watching right now, or adults, I should say, might say, damn, well, you shouldn't talk to your kids about drugs, or you shouldn't talk to your kid about how to load a gun. But you know what? It was good advice, because I knew how to load a gun. I knew not to play with the gun. I knew what kind of dope, what did what, or what you could overdose from. I knew, what people were high from, what kind of people to stay away from, Yeah. So it was kind of, people could say bad advice, but it was good advice. It was wisdom, Because how do people get wisdom anyways? They don't get it from doing good shit. It's all from bad shit. Your mistakes, your repetitiveness, and that turns into wisdom.
Absolutely. One time I tried to size up my dad, and I shamefully admit this, because my dad, even though era borracho, and he would get fucked up, and I'm talking about months without being sober. I don't think he could have functioned sober. He never did drugs, he never smoked or anything, but always Coors, And I would see him, go to bed maybe about 10 o'clock in the middle of the night, get up, take a tall can, in the morning get up, pop another one, and go to fucking work like that. So one day, I asked him por mi domingo, my allowance. And he just said, I don't have nothing for you. And I'll be honest, I was a fucking bad kid. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. And I said that. First time I ever said that to my dad came back, and I was maybe 16, 15 years old. I was in high school. And he said, ¿Qué me dijiste, cabrón? And I thought I was tough. And I just said, yeah, you heard what I said. And I sized him up, and he, boom, chin checked my ass. I didn't let him know that my ass was dazed. And I just said, get out of here. Let me finish shaving. But I knew at that moment, to be honest with you, not to go at my dad like that, And I encourage people, honestly, to honor their father and their mother. At least that's the way I was raised.
Right.
But you know what? I'm kind of glad that I got chin checked, But I also understand what you mean about when you had a lot of anger towards him, because I grew up with a neighbor too that took flight on his dad, And I remember I asked him years later, did you ever apologize or make things right with his dad? He goes, nah, fuck him. I hated him. And that was his attitude. And I'll be honest with you, me being a father, I don't like seeing or hearing things like that, especially when I got homies that tell me, fuck him. about their own son.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to see that, but
Right.
it's out there.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's out there. So now, one thing I want to talk about is that I had seen an interview when you were talking to someone, and how kids today, it is so easy to say the N word, the Nigga.
Right.
Okay. I grew up more in the 80s and 90s. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We never used that word. You know, it wasn't in our vocabulary back then.
Right.
And today, kids use it so frequently. And I've even seen some of my homies, and I won't say their names, that started acting like these kids and say it to one another. They've come here and hung out with me and then saying the word over and over. And I said, hey, where did you get that from? You know? So, but my thing is this. Why do you think it's so easy for Raza today to say the N-word and think that it's okay or cool?
The influence and idolization of another person. You got hip hop, and I hate to say hip hop,
Yes,
you know,
yeah.
or rap, because we grew up with the same thing. We didn't use those words, you know. But you got this. How do I say this? We looked up to our dads or our grandfathers, or let's just say this. Most of our kids, right? We want them to look up to us, right?
Of course.
And we want them to respect us. But usually, and it happens almost all the time, that our kids will usually look up to the uncle, or
Yes.
they'll have a cousin that they look up to, or maybe somebody from another family, they look up to that person, and they're such an influence. And now, you know, with mainstream media and all this YouTube stuff, and now podcasting, and now, you know, rap, and there, it's kind of an agenda, like it's kind of something that's been prepared. It's not something that our kids are naturally doing. No, there's a system to this. You know, like the whole projects or stuff like that. That's a whole system, and Section 8 and all that stuff that resorts to people, or it's kind of pushed on people that are called a minority, and we're not a minority. These are actual manipulated mind warfare. If I could get into like psychology of it, like the whole if you look up Mouse Utopia. That literally, they take the males away from the household. You know, that's the same thing they do in Section 8, where they allow women to get a house, and they take the males away, and then who becomes the influence of the young males in that house? While whatever they're listening to, hip-hop, rap, or other kids that are going through the same shit that they're going through with a lot of trauma. Now these kids link up, and now they have trauma bonds, and now they see somebody or using a word freely has never been corrected because maybe his dad's in prison, or he's got not a male figure to look up to, but he's got the hip hop or music or social media saying this stuff, and now that becomes his dad.
Very, very true. You know, now I'm going to say something because, and I want you guys to listen up, okay? Somebody told me once, well, I talk like this because this is how I was raised. That's what he said. Mm-hmm. This is how I was raised. I was raised around black people, and I was from the hood. Mm-hmm. That's what he said. Okay. Wilmington in the 80s, all throughout the 80s, was pretty much predominantly black, Mexican, Filipinos, Samoans. Mm-hmm. Two blood gangs were here, and then you have East Side and West Side, Wilmington, and inside. East Side is a lot of gangs. Inside West Side is a lot of different gangs. Okay. Mm-hmm. When I started my music career in 1987, I was around NWA, and I'm just going to say it because that's the name of their group. They were called Niggas with Attitude. Mm-hmm. Okay. I did a lot of mixtapes with them. I saw a lot of their recordings. I was in the studio with them. Mm-hmm. That word never rubbed off on me. Mm-hmm. I grew up amongst blacks here. That word never rubbed off on me. Then my next crew was DJ Quick, Second to None, AMG, High C, and I toured with those guys. They talk like that. That word never rubbed off on me. So I think sometimes, and I say sometimes, mm-hmm. it's an excuse because they just want to talk like that.
Yeah.
You know, mm-hmm. Again, two of the most world-known rap groups I was around, mm-hmm. they didn't influence me. And you know what they always respected about me? That I like you because you stay true to yourself. Mm. You stay true to I never changed my style. You know, I never changed the way I look. I'm me, and I'm 54 years old, and I'm still me. Mm-hmm. So when people say, well, that's just the way I grew up, nah, dude. You know, at least for me, that's just, I think sometimes that can be used as a cop-out, you know. So then here's another word that people call each other or play around with each other. And you made a very powerful point that we don't call, or a man doesn't tell another man this word. For an example, what's up, bitch, to another man. And kids today, this generation uses, and I just don't want to solely put it on them, because I even see dudes that are my age that, you know, what's up, bitch, where you been? You know, or here's another one that I cannot stand. I'll be honest with you. And some people have said it here, and I had to correct them. Hey, Dick. What's up, Dick?
Exactly.
I don't talk like that. I don't treat my guests like that or my friends like that. But I just think that those words, man, can really bring problems, man.
Yeah.
You know? So another thing is like, why do you think adults now think that it's so, they can freely talk like that?
I don't have no answer for that. That's probably the I don't know, man. I mean, they're influenced through their friends. I guess they're trying to, you know, I see a lot of some dudes my age, you know, using the word that you know, we didn't grow up like that. Why you? I don't use it. I still don't use it. You know, why are you using it? And I think it's just, you know, trendy. I think it's become a trend, just like tattoos. Tattoos ain't nobody. The real bangers had tattoos back in the days. It was rare you seen a woman all sleeved up, and now it's a trend. Everybody's trying to catch up to the next person. You
know what? And I'm glad you brought that up, because we're going to talk about that after our break. But you know what? That's a good, powerful point, because I think today it is a trend to get tattoos. You know, I remember when I first saw, I was probably in 10th grade when I first saw Will Metal right here get, you know, his name right here. And then another dude got Wilmas all right here. And then I started getting introduced to the teardrops, you know, as a youngster. But it wasn't what it is today. And I just think you rarely ever saw any women with any tats back then. But today's a trend. I mean, if you look at 80s or 90s basketball players till today, one thing that's different is that they're all sleeved up, they're all tatted up. And I say that to say this because there was a youngster, my boy's son, I asked him, what do you want to be for Halloween? I'm going to be a basketball player. So he told his dad, I need you to go buy me those sleeved up from Party City.
Oh, man.
Like that was his idea of a basketball player. Right. Just throw in a Lakers jersey and then buy the fake sleeves. Oh. So now I'm a basketball player.
Right.
So anyways, we're going to go ahead and take a break, 10-minute break. We're going to come right back. And I want to touch on a little bit more on the tattooing thing and what inspired and what motivated you to get into that, because I don't hear enough of that.